Future Now Show. Brought to you by the Club of Amsterdam.
Welcome to the Future Now Show, where we explore the cutting edge of technology, innovation, and the wonders of the digital age, featuring interviews with global thought leaders, entrepreneurs, and visionaries whose ideas and projects are shaping tomorrow's realities. Today, we're discussing the Real Future Project with Marie-Hélène Caillol. Hi, Marie. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Katie. Thank you very much for your invitation.
So, what inspired you to get into political science and futures thinking?
What inspired me is it's a whole history of political activism, in fact, at the origin. It started all the early 90s when I met Frank Biancheri, who was a political activist himself, working on European democratization. And in fact, so that was his mantra, his mission during about 20 years, 30 years. He was focused on a political project which was about democratizing Europe. And he was saying this thing. He was saying, if we don't democratize Europe, Europe is going to go through huge crisis. So he was anticipating a crisis in case there wouldn't be a change in the mechanisms they are linking the European political decision-making levels and European citizens. And so today, I like to say, it's a bit bitter and cynical, I like to say that we had a political failure and emancipation success. And that's why today we are a lot more interested in, indeed, developing this method of political emancipation that we came up with. We started talking about using the expression in the early 2000s, and even a little earlier than that. And thinking about this, how to look at the future more rationally and based on simple methods.
In your analysis, what are the key components of the global systemic transition, and why is it crucial for us to understand and adapt to these changes?
Yeah. So that's very close to that, and that will be that's one of the messages I'd like to have here. Is that one of the reasons I think is a lack of understanding of the future collectively, and in a complex society like we have today, globalized, internetized, interconnected, etc. We can no longer have like big leaders who have a rational vision for themselves and embark the people behind. Nothing like this is possible ever again. Weak players all over the place, even strong players are weak players. So they have to negotiate constantly. So it is, we need to have a whole society that understands individually. People need to understand better the future. Otherwise, democracy is not possible. Otherwise, we start having lobbies and groups who have their own vision of the future based on irrational or rational sometimes, but partial aspects, not systemic, etc. And I think all this lack of capacity to look calmly into the future, looking at the future and into the eyes, is one of the reasons why we have this big chaos. And who is going to be able to bring back order apart from very strongly totalitarian or technologically based totalitarian methods, thinking that let's manipulate brains and gradually people will start thinking again in the same way, which is of course what we absolutely need to avoid, even though we are currently in a process which is closer to that idea. But there is hope, and I believe that human beings are capable of fighting back and going back to these principles of democracy, which mean collective intelligence of the future, and a whole society that is capable of looking calmly, rationally into the future, fact-based, and not being embarked into manipulative visions of the future.
How do you define real future observation? And what makes it different versus the traditional methods of predicting future trends?
Alors, I'm not myself a big expert of all the schools of anticipation and foresight, etc. So based on our own experience, I've come up recently with this expression of real future, which comes from a previous method that we developed and worked on during at least 20 years, or not at least, around 20 years, which was political anticipation. But I'm not going to develop too much political anticipation, though there was one thing which was which comes from already the political anticipation. We are looking at the future, not those futures that we are going to invent, create, etc. Of course, everybody invents, participates in the future. But first and foremost, before we make decisions, before we strategize, before we do anything, we have to inform the future, the big trends, the big characteristic, what is really going to happen. And this is a process that requires specific methods, which are far more closer to historical methods than to create those creative methods that I've seen in the various, which I find very interesting. But what we bring to the discussion is to say we also need to look at the future, the one future that is coming to us and that we will surf. We will not change necessarily the future, but if we know better what's coming, what it's practically, pragmatically, concretely, we will be able to surf this future towards our goals. So free will remains in this way of, you would say, oh, you are deterministic. You see the future and there's nothing to do. No, we see the future, and because we understand the map that we have ahead, it's easier for us to follow the right roads that take us to our goals in this future. And of course, I'm not talking about 100 years ahead. I'm talking about the next 20, maximum 10, 5 years ahead. Those years where you can strategize, you can planify, you can train yourself, adapt, etc. Okay, and so the real future is really now a simplification even of that, of the previous method, saying today, and especially post-COVID, post-ChatGPT, all these changes that we've had, which embark us in a world that is really new and that we need to explore. It's here already, which was not the case back in 2019. In 2019, the world after we were not yet in it. There were lots of signs of it, but now we're in it. It is here. The future is here. The problem is that we have to bring people to become aware of it and to describe that future by asking those who see it, those who are already active in it, those who build it further, and the places and the technologies, but not just the technologies, also groups, places, etc., people who think on different aspects. And that is what we need to explore, investigate very pragmatically based on facts. Who is in the future already, or who is in a present that is our future? And let's explore that, investigate that. That is really, and that is what I think is very easy to share with everyone. And therefore, it is the basis for me to democratizing the future and educating to the future.
Now, why do you believe enhancing human capacities for anticipation is essential for navigating future challenges? And how do we develop these skills?
Well, precisely. So I think it comes from, it should start very early. So why? Because as maybe I already said, I think it's really, I just, at the very beginning of our discussion, I told you I was coming from a political path of democratizing the future. So democracy for me is very important. And I've been thinking, what is the link between the future and democracy? There are some obvious links, but I've come up with one certainty today, is that as we probably managed to create democracy in the past based on rationalizing the past, in the antique Greece, antique Rome, the Enlightenments in the 18th century, etc. I think there's been efforts of, precisely grounding our view of the past on facts. Today, in the complex world we have, the world has never been so complex. Not complex because it's complicated, but complex because there are lots of players. It's all connected. We have the technology, etc. And so we need to, today to do the same thing with the future. And, it's, are there facts of the future like there are facts and documents of the past? Yes. And the first reason for that is that we don't all live in the same time. So the first thing is to go to those places and people, as I was saying, who are already ahead, the most ahead. And we need to, and it's very important in terms of societal cohesion, that, that there is an education that is prone to actually bringing people to live in the same time, because that's one of the reasons why people disagree sometimes. In fact, they don't observe exactly the same reality. Some are talking about a reality that was 10 years ago for the others. You see what I mean? So, and how can you discuss that? Of course, there's no discussion. If you're talking about the same reality, but 10 years apart, everybody's right, of course. So you cannot agree on anything. And so the idea is really to give the tools and the education and the information rationally based to everyone, so that we gradually move to live in the same time, first of all. And that's where the method is very much about, as I said, identifying the future where it is present, investigating, and crossing viewpoints, and taking for granted that there's no one is right or wrong. This is something which is a revolution, because we live in a world today where the media are all about who's right, who's wrong, what is black, what is white. And of course, this is not the way we're going to go back to intelligence and understanding. And that's what I teach my students. I say, listen to everyone. There's no dishonest. Most people are honest. And when they have a viewpoint, when they have an opinion, it comes from somewhere. You need to respect that. Listen. You don't have to agree. And he doesn't have to convince you. But listen to everyone from every angle, from different sectors, different countries. Try to diversify as much as possible, and trust your brain, because your brain is a tool to anticipate, naturally, is a tool to synthesize. And the more you will hear and be open to all these sounds, the better, the higher you will grow and be able to actually have a vision, which is not going to be vérité, the truth. Nobody holds the truth, but some people are closer to it than others because they've given themselves the means for that.
Right. It's so true. Everyone's so caught up into one thinking or, or the other, and we need to really listen. We
need to listen, and we need to listen, and we need to stop convince on both sides. So both sides have to change. I think it's not just the listening; it's also the stop convincing. It's not the express yourself. You go to the psychiatrist basically, and you express what you feel, and try to understand where it comes from. And it's very interesting in this just that, and cross. Collective intelligence of the future is also a concept that comes from this whole theory on the future that I've developed.
Yes. So let's talk about the Real Future Project.
Yeah.
What are your objectives and key initiatives with this?
Alors, in fact, these notions, so I have two histories, but since 5 years, I've had a very, very interesting experience working teaching in school, in a business school, in fact, which is INSEC in Paris. It's a French medium grade business school. And since the beginning, since 5 years, 2018 maybe, with 18 and 19, I've been allowed to teach the future but it was not so convincing at this stage. What really started becoming convincing was actually running projects, future-oriented projects transversely to the school. And it started with professors, with the teachers, like training them to the method of political anticipation. And then we created the Café du Futur, future cafes, where we were in fact discussing, but that was in 2020, we had this project, and it was online because it was COVID years, and we were meeting every month, and the teachers were really happy, and I was, pulsing a pace of questions of that helped us understand better in this big turmoil of the COVID what the future was about for professors like us. And voilà. And every year I changed the project. And last year, well, no, last year is not very interesting. We had a set of conferences, but that were still based on crossing viewpoints, in fact. But this year, I think, is a very interesting project that really synthesizes everything that's been experimented before, and it's called the Pôle Excellence Réel Futur, again. So it's a group of excellency, a pole of excellency, where we selected a group of motivated, so there are selected students, about 15 students, and we embark ourselves. Of course, I coordinate, I run that, but they are really active players into the project. We embark ourselves into an exploration of the future based on this idea, exactly what I described. I'm not going to repeat. Based on this diversity that we need, so we are focusing on 3 categories of players: the students, the professors again, and the companies. We're in a business school, so it's interesting to know what the business world, how they are reflecting over their own adaptations, the trends they see, why, so the challenges they have in the future, etc., of transformation, etc. So they are those who think about that the most. But if they think on their side and not with the students and with the professors, they're not going to have the people capable of handling the challenges that they've seen, if they don't work with the students. And so that's what I offer them all. I say, we have this nucleus group of students. They're inviting you to think with them about to reflect over this future, sharing viewpoints, and especially starting from the as I said, corporate viewpoints on those future, because they, as I said, they are the more, but embarking the students into this understanding and the students' viewpoint, the students' questions, and of course the professors also have to adapt. They are the link between the students and the companies in terms of providing upgraded training that will make it possible for companies in 5 years, 10 years to have exactly the kind of person that they need to take up the challenges that they're going to cross. So that's really a very, very interesting project. And I have to thank, I am very thankful to INSEC for having offered me this platform of experimentation, which has led me to move from this rather conceptual and intellectual concept of political anticipation to this very pragmatic concepts of collective intelligence of the future on one side, and réel futur, which is the new expression that I like to use, and which makes a lot of sense into this searching the future where it is present.
Well, I'd love to stop by the Future Cafe.
Yeah, les cafés du futur. They no longer exist, but they're back under the shape of these round tables. We've just organized with the students our first round table, inviting, therefore, as I said, companies and company representatives and teachers from the school into a discussion. Yeah, I forgot to mention the topic that we chose also for ourselves. Topic this year, which is not very original, but at the same time extremely timely, which is the future of human beings in post-ChatGPT organized companies. It's very corporate again, but of course the discussion is going to be about post-ChatGPT society as a whole. And we have a very interesting program, basic program, but the students are already adding other things which are very interesting, like podcasts, like masterclasses, things like that. But the basic program that I proposed them is 3 roundtables. So one is really about understanding better those technologies, generative AI. What does it? What is it? What's coming next? Or how is it going to? Well, so that was our first roundtable early this week on the 27th of February. Next month, on the 26th of March, we're going to be focusing on the impact, already structural impact, systemic impact on companies, how companies are already changing, not just firing staff, but also how there are elements of of reorganization around these new tools that they are integrating very fast. So how companies are changing. And a third roundtable on the 30th of April, where we're going to discuss the impact on education, training, preparing the younger the new generation to be there and useful and articulate themselves properly with the machines in 5-10 years. So these are the 3 roundtables, and we have one big. It's a dream yet because we need money for that. But I'd like to take them to travel to a very what I call a mind-bugging place. Does that in English, is that okay? Mind-blowing place of observation of the future. I would like to take them to places like Neom in Saudi Arabia, places where you don't expect the future to be there, but at the same time it's there, and it's there from a very, very interesting angle, and it really questions all your certainties on the future. So I really hope we can organize that by October, the group. And it's certified by INSEC, and there's a future, I think, to this future project. Voilà.
Oh my goodness, that sounds so exciting. The students get
Yeah.
to go possibly and visit a place like Neom. That's really
Yeah.
cool.
That would be great. That would be my first step. But we may also go, I don't know, to China, to Shenzhen in China, or places like that. We need to go to places where the future is is different. Is different from what we know. You see what I mean? Uh-huh.
Yes, yes. So, what advice would you give to aspiring future scientists and analysts, especially those that are interested in making meaningful contributions to understanding and navigating global transitions?
Well, I think we all are complementary, and we should move in visibility, the ones with the others. And I think that in this future literacy, as I said earlier, I don't like to use so much the expression because it's already related to specific methods, which are different from those that I advocate for. But when I teach, when I embark my students into this future observation, of course, it's based on my ideas, which I presented to you, but I'm also always very interested to bring aboard people who have other ways of addressing the future, and show them that there are people working on that, knowing that, I don't know, in the US or in Switzerland, but in France, the future is still a very tricky topic to bring into the academic sphere. The future, no, we are serious people. We don't discuss the future. Nobody knows. And so we need to team up to actually put together on the academic table this absolute requirement to that the future becomes like history is a fundamental in the education of our youth. The future has to be a fundamental, and it's not at university. It's not by chance when you work in a company. It has to be at school already. That I think we should team up together to make sure that the future becomes a discipline, a subject at school.
I agree. How do you see the field of futures thinking and studies evolving over the next decade, especially considering ChatGPT and all these technologies coming out now? So much is changing. What are your thoughts?
I think that there's going to be lots of questioning first of all, of course, you put me on another track, but the track which is, of course, how because I've heard that for the last 10 years, will these technologies be able to predict the future, and we won't have to think. It doesn't make any sense if it's the machine that predicts the future. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, they're going to predict the future, and what with us? What do we need? A machine predicting the future? Okay, so we need to learn, and I think that is going to be interesting. I mean, many spheres. It is high time now. All these AI technologies, etc., are human productions. Okay, so they copied the way we work to produce that artificially, machines that work like we do. But I think there is now the step that has come now is to look at these machines and see how we can understand better how we work and improve ourselves. But anticipation, machines are just copying what we do, how our brain functions. So let's now look at this mirror that we've created and learn from this and learn to use it better. And for instance, was it very interesting? We were having a discussion recently with someone working in the car industry, and who was saying that there is something strange now that this AI ChatGPT has come, is that everybody is taking and using it to be more competitive than the neighbor. And in fact, so it's singling out people, in fact, more than, and we were saying how ridiculous, the fact AI and everything has come from is a result of the fact of having connected computers together. If we connect our brains together, we're going to overtake the machine again. So you see what I mean. So I think that applies also to those who work in future studies and sciences, who are going to have to. But I think there's another. I was thinking of something that I often have, that I hear a lot around in the community of future thinkers, is the fact that now they've bumped on something which is, okay, we've improved our capacity to anticipate, to understand the future, etc., but we have no impact on decision making. And so now that is the big question. And my answer to that is also collective intelligence of the future. It's that it's not, it's very hard to convince a leader of a catastrophe coming or a risk coming, and making huge decisions. It's already very difficult to make decisions and to trickle them down into an organization, etc. So you really, the leader has to be very, very sure, and has to feel that the risk is coming. It just cannot be told about a risk coming. That's not enough. And that's where I think there is the only way for organizations in general, corporate organizations in particular, to actually become more adaptable, etc., is to embark the whole collectivity of humans, of a group, whatever it is, into this observation of the future from all these different angles that people have according to their place and role in the company, their own background, etc. So everybody has a viewpoint on the future, and it has to be put together, including with the leaders. And then we have a system which is a swarm system. We can come up with swarm adaptative, naturally agile systems, where in fact the fact that everybody is looking towards the future, entitled to share and to look into the future and share that viewpoint, results in organization that naturally adapts, because everybody takes the right, better decisions, like a swarm fish swarm, like fish swarm do. And so this is my answer to it, and I guess that in the community of future scientists, they're going to come up with that, or they already, some of them have already come up with that too. But that it's going to be a big challenge. How do our capacity to look into the future translates into action?
So what are the next steps for you and your research with the Real Future Project? What future projects or areas of study are you most excited about?
Well, I'm becoming extremely excited about this post-ChatGPT society. I'm beginning to think that it's interesting, because I was discussing that just recently with my teams at LEAP, at the Laboratoire, Européen, Politique. I said, back in the years 2008, we started in 2006, we anticipate financial crisis. So we were very financial in our analysis, and we had a financial crisis. Then we became very geopolitical, and we have now geopolitical crisis. And I'm saying, I think we are going to become technological. Not just, of course, it has to be combined with the rest. It's not just looking at technologies, but putting these technologies and this post-ChatGPT, it's a very caricatural way of saying it, but everybody understands what I mean. This post-ChatGPT society, and focus on that, because people are very interested in understanding better, and it is not it's not just a fashion, it is an absolute requirement to indeed understand this change of paradigm, technologically driven, which of course comes already from the internet, etc. But now we have this new stage, which was anticipated, but now we're into it. We need to observe, we need to look what is actually changing and start describing the society. I think it's very much needed. And so even if it's just a topic for this year, and I was thinking it would be this year's topic, I'm already beginning to think that it could be a multi-year topic of observation. And I will see where it takes us. I think that the combination of companies academia and students is something that is that could last a little while. I think I'm going to stick to that for a while. I like to change, but if you ask me in June, I might say something different. But in June, in next June now, because I'm constantly well, I will probably make this le bilan. How do we say in French, in English, le bilan, to take stocks of our experiment. I need to do that first to tell you where I go next.
Well, we'll have to have you back on the show to give us an update.
Yeah, with pleasure, of course. Thank you very much. It'd be
Yes,
great.
yes. So for our listeners out there who are interested in diving deeper into the topics we've discussed today, where can we find out more about what you're doing in your work? Where can we find out more?
Alors, I think, voilà, but first of all, there is the Laboratoire, the European Laboratory of Political Anticipation, which is the think tank that I run. So LEAP20, LEAP 2040.eu. Our publication, which is the Global Europe Anticipation Bulletin, GEAB.eu, which is a monthly multilingual publication that we've been publishing since 2007, where we anticipated the subprime crisis and many more things since then. Voilà, so that's another. And then we don't have a website for this PERF program that I just explained, but we have a LinkedIn page. So it's Pôle Excellence Réal Futur. Oh, it's in French. Maybe you can write. I don't know if you have the means to write it down somewhere. But so Pôle Excellence Réal Futur. You can find that on LinkedIn and then follow the group and follow our events, etc.
Perfect. All right. We'll link everything down below in the description, so we'll be able to share it out there. And
I can share. I can send you a note so that you can share.
Awesome.
Your viewers.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much, Marie, for joining us today on the show, and we look forward to hearing more in the future.
Thank you very much, Kate. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.